Welcome, everybody. I'm Mike Goodpaster. You're watching the Grueling True Sports Network, and today we're going to look at the 2025 NBA Finals, a matchup not many people predicted at the start of this season, and really not many people picked it at the start of the playoffs, as we have the number one seed, best team in the NBA during the regular season, Oklahoma City Thunder. They will be playing the Indiana Pacers, who came out of nowhere to win the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, this is a David and Goliath matchup if you listen to national media, but so was Indiana, New York. So was Indiana, Cleveland. If you looked at it, Indiana, Cleveland, I think one guy out of 20 picked the Pacers. If you look at Indiana, New York, I think 4 or 5 guys out of 20 did. So is this going to be a coronation for the Thunder in a 4-game sweep? Or can the Pacers make this a series? All right, these are two organizations looking for their first ever NBA championship. Now, I will give you the caveat that Oklahoma City won it in Seattle as the Supersonics in the late 70s when they beat the Washington Bullets. And the Indiana Pacers won in 1970, 72, and 73, I believe, the ABA championship. Not the same as an NBA championship. And that banner for, Oklahoma City belongs to Seattle, not Oklahoma City. I think when we look at this matchup, they say styles make fights, and the styles here are this. This is basically the Pacers offense against the Thunder's defense. Now, the Pacers offense actually took a step backward during the regular season, and, only the New Orleans Pelicans and the Philadelphia 76ers saw bigger drops in points scored per 100 possessions from the 24 season to the 25 season. But that Pacers offense has come alive during the playoffs, scoring 5 more points per 100 possessions than their opponents allowed. Now, that put them in the NBA Finals, and their effective field goal percentage of 57.6% is the second best mark for a finals team through the conference finals in playoff history. All right, I'll combine that with this. If you think this is a bad matchup, it's not. If the New York Knicks were in this series, it would be a 4-game sweep and over quickly. I believe the Pacers could put up a fight here. I believe that the Pacers had the firepower and they have the bench and the ball movement and the transition offense to be able to stay in this game or in this series. They got to win 4 out of 7. It wouldn't surprise me if this was a series where every game the Thunder wins is a blowout. Every game the Pacers win is a close game. Now, as long as you get 4 close wins, that's good enough. Now, these are also, if you look at record-wise from like early to mid-January, these are by far the 2 best teams in the NBA record-wise. Now, the Pacers still significantly behind in games won against the Thunder. The Thunder, I think, were 28-1, 29-1 against Eastern Conference competition. Of course, the West is considered, for good reason, the better of the 2 conferences. And the Indiana Pacers played a Cleveland team with injuries. They didn't have to face the Boston Celtics, who, let's face it, if Jason Tatum's playing, probably don't lose to the New York Knicks. But it doesn't matter. A lot of winning a championship is a luck of staying healthy, and the Indiana Pacers have been able, for the most part, to do that. Now, the Thunder defense has been better than the Pacers offense. They hold opponents to an amazing 12.8 fewer points per 100 possessions than they scored in the regular season. The Pacers offense against the Thunder defense is certainly the featured battle of this finals matchup. And, the Pacers want to run. The Pacers offense starts in transition. They will run off of turnovers, rebounds, and against a lazy team like the New York Knicks, they can even score after you score. I doubt that happens very much against Oklahoma City. They rank 3rd in the playoffs in a percentage of their possessions that have been in transition and burst in points per possession in transition. Now, the transition game goes beyond just 2 players, but Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam are a perfect tandem when it comes to scoring early in the shot clock. Halliburton led the league in passes ahead per game, both in the regular season at 9.2 and in the playoffs at 8.9. Siakam has scored an amazing 1.5 points per possession in transition, the best mark among the 37 players in the NBA playoffs that had at least 25 transition possessions. Now, Siakam consistently beat the Knicks down the court in transition, and Halliburton was usually the man throwing the ball up above to him. The Thunder will be more difficult to run on. Only 13.6% of their opponents' possessions, the lowest rate in the playoffs, have been in transition. It helps that the Thunder have multiple defenders who can guard multiple opponents, so you don't have to worry so much about matchups. When you look at matchups here also, the Thunder are significantly bigger underneath than the Pacers are. But I expect the Thunder to play small against the Pacers because I think if you play big, you got a shot at the Pacers being able to run with you and actually control the game. Now, when these two teams played twice earlier in the year, the Pacers were held to 34 total transition points over the two regular season meetings. Now, that 17 point per game was well above Indiana's average of 26.2. Now, the Thunder didn't just lead the league in opponent turnover rate in the regular season. They also ranked fifth in percentage of their opponents' turnovers. And that were basically live turnovers. So basically steals. Their 10.2 points or 10.2 steals per 100 possessions were the most for any team in the last 12 years in the NBA. They've averaged even more, 10.6 in the playoffs, including 11.1 steals per 100 possessions in the Western Conference Finals. All 12 Thunder players who've played at least 50 playoff minutes have averaged at least one steal per 36 minutes. For context, the Pacers have 6 out of their 12 that have averaged 1 per 36. Now, the Thunder ability to turn teams over starts with ball pressure, but it's not just pressure from one side. And if opponents put the ball on the floor, they will attract more defenders with long arms and strong hands. Those defenders will even pinch off the opponent's best player to poach the ball from the ball handler. Now, the Pacers take care of the ball incredibly well. Now, we saw that in the Eastern Conference Finals where the one game they didn't, they got blown out by the Knicks with 20 turnovers in Game 5. Now, in regard to how the Thunder like to force turnovers, it's basically stealing the basketball. But it also helps that the Pacers have the second lowest rate in the playoffs, averaging just 2.2 dribbles per touch. If they get the ball around the perimeter, they get the ball into the post, they do it without dribbling. This is a very well coached Pacer team of Rick Carlisle. Now, they lost both head-to-head meetings against the Thunder. One game was close at Indiana, the other was a blowout in OKC. But the Pacers had the second lowest turnover rate, 11.7 per 100 possessions against the Thunder in the regular season. Now, Indiana's turnover rate will be one of the most important and telling factors in deciding this series. If Indiana could somehow keep the turnovers to 10 or even below, you got a chance to win. Now, the pace of the Pacers' offense doesn't stop if the opponent is rebounding or is defending them well in transition. The ball and bodies continue to move, making them the toughest team in the league to defend. The Pacers will target weak defenders. They put Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns into a combined 47 ball screens per game. But more to ignite their ball and player movement and less to play one-on-one. The Pacers have been at or near the top of the league in both ball and player movement, both in the regular season and the playoffs. Now, there weren't any correlation really between how much teams moved the ball overall and how efficiently they scored against the Thunder's top-ranked defense in the regular season. But the Pacers' willingness to share should be an asset against a very aggressive defense. If you can avoid the poachers, open shots can be found on the weak side of the floor. The Thunder had the third highest opponent three-point rate given up in the playoffs at 44%. 32% of those opponents' three-pointers were given up from the corners. The Indiana Pacers have shot an astounding 46.9% on corner three-pointers, easily the best mark in the playoffs, with Aaron Nesmith leading all players with 17 corner threes. If they could get the ball past the Thunder swarm and get into their offense, the Pacers could get good looks from the corner. And the way they move the ball, if you're not giving up those steals, weak side of the court's open when you swing it to it. This Pacer team could win this series. I know they definitely could win a couple games here, and I think people are really selling them short. If you look at the odds right now, I think if you bet the Pacers, you're getting like plus 500 to 600. I don't think we've seen odds like that in a while, but 2019, we saw a similar thing with Golden State and Toronto. Toronto was able to win that series in 6 games. Now, both of these teams have quality depth. Indiana beat the Knicks in large part because of that depth. But the Thunder may be the only team in the NBA that has an edge in quality because their 9th guy in their rotation is probably better than Indiana's 8th or 7th rotation player. So on paper, the Thunder are going to have an edge here. But that doesn't always translate to production on the floor. We saw Jalen Williams play like an all-star, like the all-star he is against the T-Wolves. But in the second round against the Nuggets, he struggled to be an efficient offensive threat. The Thunder could turn to someone like Chet Holmgren to pick things up if Williams is struggling. And we've seen Caruso have a 20-point game in the playoffs. But OKC needs Williams to be consistent. This is a team with great depth, but it still needs its two all-star players to operate at that level every night, or as close to every night as you can. The Pacers don't rely as much on one or two players to score a majority of their points, even if on most nights that might be the case with a tag team attack of Halliburton and Eastern Conference MVP Pascal Siakam. But all five of Indiana's stars average double-digit points. It is the third highest scoring bench unit in the postseason. The Pacers have proven pretty much everyone wrong in this run to the finals, and they have looked impressive enough in large stretches, especially with their bench, especially guys like Naismith and Nembhard. The big thing here, the X factor to me, if the Indiana Pacers are going to win this series, Miles Turner's got to step up and be a man. He's got to be an X factor for the Pacers. He'll need to take advantage of mismatch opportunities if Holmgren is the one guarding him down low. If it's Hartenstein on Turner, Indiana can spread the floor, open up the paint for Halliburton to get to the rim, dish or score. The Pacers will need Benedict Mathurin to be better defensively when he's on the floor and commit less careless fouls than he did against the New York Knicks. Indiana will need their role players to carry over how they've played against the Knicks, because while the Thunder may be able to get away with relying on the top two or three guys to win 4 games, that's not how the Indiana Pacers have gotten to the NBA Finals. And I think when the odds are made on this series, that is a huge reason of why I think people are very big time underselling the Indiana Pacers in this series. Now, when you break it down at plus 5 to 600, I'm taking the Indiana Pacers to win this series. And I know people are probably going to make fun of me because I'm probably the only person in the country that is picking the Indiana Pacers to win this series. I think the Indiana Pacers will pull the upset in game 1. I would definitely say if you're betting game 1, bet the Pacers take the 9.5 points. This is not as big a mismatch as people think. Not with the way the Pacers are playing right now. If you go with the totality of the season, there's no doubt the Thunder is better. But this is a best-of-7 series. Oklahoma City will suffocate you on defense. But Indiana's offense is not going to get suffocated. As long as they get the ball over half court cleanly, the way they pass the ball, the way they don't dribble to do it, they attack you by passing the ball, the Indiana Pacers could win 4 games here. I think the Pacers will split the first 2 games. I think they'll win 2 at home, both extremely close. I think game 5 will be an OKC blowout. I think game 6, Indiana in overtime wins their first ever NBA championship. So you can mark it down. Take the Indiana Pacers to win this series plus 500, and you could be a rich man when this is all said and done. All right, guys, if you're going to bet on this NBA Finals or each separate game, go to BetMGM, our top-rated sportsbook for betting on the NBA Finals. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. And if you're a Pacers fan, you're still around here, make sure you hit that like button. If you're a Thunder fan, make sure you hit that like button and then share this to all your Thunder friends so y'all can come get me after I'm wrong, right? But the Indiana Pacers in 6 games. Make sure you follow me on X at Grueling Truth. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.